This morning when I asked Brother Jim if he proclaimed the gospel, I said, "You're going to love it." It's one we talk about regularly. He and I, and I'm sure many of us, talk about this famous passage between Jesus and Martha and Mary. Well, the other night, my mom and I were speaking with a family friend who now lives in New Hampshire. And so I was curious, and I asked him, "How did you happen to move from Fall River, Mass. to such a different place in the state of New Hampshire?" Well, he told me the story of how he and his wife loved the outdoors. And every other weekend, for 6 years, they would camp, hike, and ski in the mountains of New Hampshire. Well, this involved traveling 152 miles and spending at least 2.5 hours in the car each way. Eventually, they decided that they were meant to live where they found a sense of joy and peace that they found each weekend. All of us, like St. Paul, Martha, and our family friend Mark, are faced with decisions to make about how we live. We need to decide our mission in this life. For some, it is to marry, and some to be blessed with children. For others, it is religious life, or the priesthood, or the diaconate. Or for others, the committed single life in service to God and others. But each of us within these vocations also need to reflect upon how and where we are to live. In the gospel, Jesus is trying to help Martha to see that she doesn't need to worry as much as she does. As I said, something that I think many of us can relate to, especially now. Jesus is trying to help Martha and any of us to realize the trap of letting the world's standards overwhelm us. Jesus reminds each of us that Mary got it right, beginning with her attention to Jesus, making time for him and not leaving him while getting all distracted rushing around. Now I know this is the part of the homily where all Marthas want to say, "Well, then nothing will get done, Father Dave." Well, that's true to a point. But Jesus' life and the apostles' life, like Paul, is full of activity. But it begins with a closeness and a trust in the presence of God. Our friend Mark and his wife didn't decide to move to New Hampshire based solely on working hard and looking at websites and brochures. They spent lots of time in those beautiful woods and mountains and then made the move. My brothers and sisters, today, Jesus is calling us to spend some time with him. And this is what we're doing at the Mass. He comes to bring us a sense of peace and hope, just like he offered Martha. But we know that like St. Paul and Mark, finding our purpose, our place to live, united to God's plan, doesn't usually happen overnight or even in a matter of months. I think this is why we can patiently pray and reflect on Psalm 139, where we have just prayed, "Guide me, Lord, along the everlasting way." For it's in this psalm that we realize and we remember that God, who has created us, knows us through and through. And so he is the one that we can rely upon to help us find our way. I want to invite all of you, the Marthas, the Marks, and the Pauls out there, to join me in praying and reflecting upon this psalm. And if you are blessed with children in your life, help them to understand through this psalm how wonderfully God has made them and how they can always turn to God to help them along the way. My brothers and sisters, may God bless you and your family this holy day. And may our prayer be today and every day, "Guide me, Lord."